Absolutely. So I've spent 18 grand to watch a 40-minute 7-year-old soccer game.
It's when you have your kids and your wife that if you fail, you destroy their lives. You know you can't quit.
So in a 66-day period, I was in 2 accidents where my 2 best friends died, and I was the only survivor.
And the relationship is like, it's full of ups and downs.
Tim, what's up, bro? I am with Albert. How'd you know? And then 3 weeks later, he announced the very first 10X.
I'm worth $10 billion, but I'm old and my kids don't like me.
Especially as men, having the right wife is the only reason I am where I am today and I am who I am today. Did we go 90 minutes? Holy crap.
Hey, welcome back to Driven Channel. And I'm here very excited because, you know, we have a lot of things in common, especially with the Thrive event and Driven event. I remember you were doing it at the same time, like years ago.
Yeah.
But you're a real estate investor. You're a motivational speaker. You know, you have your events, and you were a firefighter first.
Yeah.
Before you made all that money. So for people that are new to Cole Hatter, like if you start by saying who is Cole Hatter, how'd you start, how'd you grow up, and then how you went from a firefighter, and then what made you get into business?
Sure. Yeah, that's a crazy journey. So I would say who I am today is a husband, father. I'm a life enthusiast, so I do as much as I can with the family, and then I do as much business as I need to give myself the lifestyle I want.
Yeah.
But as you said, it started off as firefighting. God just put it on my heart to want to help people. And as a young man growing up, I was trying to figure out a career where I could help people and get paid for it. And so I thought about joining the military. I thought about being a police officer. I thought about being a doctor. And firefighting just made the most sense. It matched my personality, right? Playing with fire and all that. So while I was in high school, I actually took evening classes and weekend classes at a local junior college, so that by the time I graduated high school, I had done all of my prerequisites I needed to go into the academy, and I ended up starting working with a department at 19 years old. So I was stoked. All my friends were still back home living at their parents' house, and I had started my career, and I figured I would do that for the next 30 or 35 years, right? Be a firefighter, and with my off time, maybe start a business down the line, and have my pension, my benefits, all the security that comes with a job. That was my goal, and of course, helping people. And then I got in a really crazy car accident 2 years later when I was 21 years old. My buddies and I were leaving Orange County, California, driving out to Vegas. We got in a really bad car accident where I was ejected. My buddy Steve was ejected. We actually had to get flown in a helicopter back to the hospital. We were so hurt out in the desert, back to the Inland Empire of Southern California. And long story short, that ended my firefighting career. I was in a wheelchair for a while. I had to move back into my parents' house because immediately after that accident, I was in such bad shape. Like I had to be carried to the toilet. I couldn't even feed myself. Like it was a bad accident. I was not supposed to survive. And so firefighting was out for the time. Now, praise God, I did have a 100% recovery. It took me about a year to be able to fully walk again. And
how old were you when this happened?
21.
21.
Yep. So it was about a year of rehab. I was blind in one eye for a while because I had a traumatic brain injury. As you can imagine, getting ejected out of a car onto the freeway, I hit my head pretty hard on the ground. And so about a year of recovery. But in that year is where I found real estate. And people are like, why'd you pick real estate? It was real simple. It was what rich people did. In my limited network as a 21-year-old, looking around at, the rich people at church and the wealthier people I observed in my little ecosystem I lived in, all the wealthiest people were like real estate brokers, real estate agents of like high-end homes or investors. And so that was the route I decided to take. I went and got my real estate license in Southern California. So I was a California licensed realtor. And I thought I was just going to go list big properties. And then I accidentally walked in to a real estate investor workshop. And the guy on stage, I'm brand new to real estate. I'm all excited to go out there, make big commissions. And he said, how many of you in here are real estate agents? And I raised my hand all big because everyone was 2 or 3 times older than me. And he's like, all of you raising your hands, you are going to be chasing commissions for the rest of your career while all the investors in the room are making all the profits. And my hand was up and I lowered my hand. I was like, wait a minute. And he was an investor and explained the difference between investment income and commissions.
Yeah.
And right there on the spot, I was like, screw it. I want to be an investor. And so 21 years old, I flipped my first house. That was, 19 years ago. So fast forward, we flipped a ton of houses and we've moved into a bunch of different areas of real estate. We've invested in multifamily. I'm building right now in Southern California an 800-unit storage facility. Ground up, we bought the raw dirt. We're completely developing it. So big boy stuff now. But real estate has been my primary career and income since 21 years old. That, again, firefighting ended. And again, I could have gone back to the department. Yeah. I ended up healing again, praise God. But in that year of recovering, I ended up starting my real estate business, and I was making more money on every house I was flipping than I would have made the entire year as a firefighter.
Yeah.
And so I saw that as a way to be able to help even more people through, my efforts and my nonprofit that I now have and starting an orphanage in Mexico and all that good stuff. And so I just went all in, and it's been a crazy 19-year journey.
So now the real estate, do you still flip the real estate, or do you buy and hold?
Occasionally. Andrew and I have a foreclosure defense business where homeowners who are in notice of default and are going to lose their house to foreclosure, we have a process where we can delay the sale of their home to give them more time to find options to try to either save their situation or find a new home. And on occasion, the perfect deal lands in my lap.
Yeah.
And we end up taking it down. So while I still love house flippers, all of you out there that are house flipping, I've done it more times than I can count, love it. But as I've moved on to like development now and kind of these bigger 8-figure deals, flipping a house for a few $100,000 in profit isn't as interesting. It's just as much brain damage to flip a house as it is to, go and flip land and do like land entitlement. But when the perfect sweet deal lands in our lap, we do. So we just flipped one in November that was in Long Beach. Again, a client called in who was in default, who was going to foreclose, and we ended up loving her property and just said, hey, we'll stop your foreclosure because we'll buy it. She was like, done, let's go. And we ended up fixing that up and flipping it. So still flipping, but nowhere near the volume I once was in my heyday.
Yeah. So the land, what exactly do you do with the land?
Couple of things. One is obviously development. So again,
You build from scratch?
Yeah, and that's what we're doing right now with storage in the Inland Empire in a little town called Bloomington. We are in the entitlement process right now, which is working with the various municipalities to get approvals for what we want to build, right? To oversimplify it, we have structural engineers and architects and all sorts of civil engineers talking about what the project looks like. The county then responds to us and says, fix this, make this smaller. That's too close to the road. You need a bigger pushback, et cetera. And then we get approval and we build. And so that's one of the things we do. But another thing is called land entitlement, where we'll actually tie up a piece of land that it will either be zoned for residential and we'll end up changing its zoning, or it may be zoned for something like commercial. Mm-hmm. And we'll go through all the entitlement process, which takes a year or two and a few $100,000 to get the county to fully approve a building. Maybe it's a strip center or a shopping center, whatever it is. And then we'll flip that to a developer investor. Yeah. And the reason that they come and buy that from us is because now the year or two that we've spent to get the land fully entitled and all the money we've spent, they don't have to. Yeah. They can go ground up immediately. And them saving time is worth millions to them. So one example, in the Inland Empire, we tied up 4.2 acres. We bought for $4.2 million. So tied it up for about $1 million an acre, got it zoned for a warehouse and ended up selling it to a developer for $9.5 million to put his warehouse on it, because once the warehouse was built, the project would have been something like $34 million in value. Yeah. And so it was a no-brainer for him to pay $9.5 for this land. And to be clear, we didn't do anything to the land. We didn't move a rock. We didn't cut down a bush. All we did was work with the county to get that entitlement approved. And because of being able to save that developer that much time and headache of dealing with the county and government officials, they're willing to pay that premium. So $4.2 million on the front end, $9.5 on the back end. So that's the land entitlement game. And back to your question of flipping, that's why I don't spend as much time flipping, because it's just as much work to flip a house and make $200,000 in Orange County as it is to do that land entitlement that I just explained.
Yeah. And what about apartments, like Cardone and they buy apartments? Do you also get apartments?
Yes, a little bit different strategy than Cardone. Love Cardone. I was just with him 2 weekends ago. He was here in Southern California, and we were hanging together while he was doing his 10X California tour. Yeah. And he buys like premium, AAA, beautiful projects that are turnkey, cash flow, day one. I like the value add strategy. So I buy apartment buildings. Typically, they're usually built in like the 90s that have a mom and pop owner that didn't maximize efficiencies, maybe haven't raised rents compared to where it should be in the market. So the values of the rents are lower than they could be. Maybe some immediate repairs that are needed that they just don't care to do or don't have the cash flow to do. And so we like buying those assets. They're called value add to then come in and raise the capital through CapEx, fix the property up so that it's at its highest and best use, and then incrementally increase rents, which based on NOI and cap rates, that's how we force value in these properties. And then at that point, we're able to refinance them, get all of our money back out, and usually a profit, which is great because, that's not taxable income when it comes via a loan. Yeah. And the properties still cash flow very well. We've got all this money, and go and do it again. It's that rinse and repeat. So where Cardone is, and I don't criticize Grant, he's just got a different strategy where he buys properties and just owns them and cash flows them. Our strategy is to buy them, fix them up, make them worth more money, suck that money out of them, and then go and do it again and again and again.
But Cardone also, I've seen him. I've known of Cardone for a long time, so I've seen his growth with the apartments, and he's getting like now like A+ properties.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But he's also like raising a lot of money from people, so like that helps him get those properties. Because before, when I knew him, he wasn't getting those A+ properties. Now, are you using your own money, or do you also raise capital?
Both. So both. I'll always put my own money in a deal. I think that it's important from an integral standpoint to have skin in the game. So I always have money in my own deals, and then I'm always raising too through like a syndicate, right, or something like a GP LP agreement. And Grant, that's a great advantage. Right now, debt isn't cheap, as you guys know. The interest rates are higher right now than they certainly were 3, 4, 5 years ago. And Grant is circumventing all of that by just paying cash for these big buildings because of the power of his brand, and now the fact that he, as of recording this video, I think has like $5 billion under assets. He's got the reputation now in the brand that he's raised, I believe he said $1.5 billion in actual cash. He's raised that. That's not what he's like, not through banks, through private investors just like you and I. $1.5 billion has come in, which is allowing him to buy these properties for cash, which allows him to avoid high interest rates. And so that's working for him really well. And so anyway, back to your question, when I'm buying real estate, usually I'll put in both my own money and then raise investor money as well.
So on the business side, you were doing events, right? You had the Thrive events. When was the first one? Was it 2017?
2015.
Oh wow.
Yep.
So you started before 10X and all that stuff.
Yeah, I helped Grant with 10X. So Grant came and spoke at Thrive #2, which was in November 2016. And he came and he was, one of my big keynotes, and he spoke Saturday as my closer. It was a 3-day event, so it was Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And he ended up staying over through Sunday and coming back to my event Sunday morning and sitting in my audience for the first 2 opening speakers. And then we chit-chatted around 11 a.m. and he was talking about doing live events, and he had talked about, how he had done events in the past and wanted to bring them back. He had Jared Glant with him. And he just asked some very high-level questions about filling the room and how I'm monetizing it. And, I was happy to answer any questions I could. And then 3 weeks later, he announced the very first 10X, which was the next February. So Thrive was November. His first 10X was the next February. So anyway, good, love Grant. But I always claim that I helped motivate him to launch that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
He might not say that, but that's what I say.
So 2015, you started your event.
Yep.
What made you start it? Like, what was your strategy behind an event? Because, like, people are watching this, and a lot of people know you, and they see the successful Cole Hatter now.
Yeah.
With all the years in real estate, all the events you put together.
Sure.
Now you outsell Russell Brunson. Well, that's what Dan told me. Like, hey, Cole Hatter, you got to have him at Driven because he'll sell out. Like he'll sell. He's the master of selling from stage.
Yeah.
So like that's a big name, Russell Brunson.
Yeah.
So people see that Cole Hatter now. But when you had your first event, what made you start it? Did you already think I'm gonna do this? I'm gonna have more events. I'm gonna grow my brand, and then I'm gonna be the #1 salesperson from stage. Like, did you imagine all of that stuff, or how was it?
No. It's interesting looking back how life works, but it was a couple of different factors. I ended up speaking on stage professionally all the way back to 2012 was my first paid gig, and was super passionate about teaching real estate. And so I had a contract with a company at the time called Fortune Builders by a good friend and mentor of mine, Than Merrill, where I signed a contract to do about 30 events a year for him. And then I was picking up other events here or there where I would stand on stage and teach real estate investing and get paid for it. And so I was exposed to kind of the event space as early as 2012 in this seminar model. In 2015, I had developed what I call a for-purpose business model for my companies. And, we can dive into the details of what those are in a second, but high level, it's just where your companies don't just make money, they make an impact. And we call that Make Money Matter, which is the whole brand of Thrive. And so we were teaching entrepreneurs through the Thrive brand how to take their existing businesses, connect it to something they're passionate about, that they deeply care about, so that while they make money, they make impact. And I was just doing that on my own because I felt like it was the right thing to do. Again, grew up unapologetically a Christian, man of faith, and I was starting to make millions of dollars, and I didn't have any guilt around that, but I was like, man, like how can I be more impactful and a better steward of the resources God's giving me? And so started my for-purpose businesses and ended up getting some attention from some of my buddies who had podcasts, one of them being Lewis Howes and John Lee Dumas, shout out to those guys, had me on their shows early on to talk about a for-purpose business and what I was doing. And I didn't really even use social media. I think I had 2 posts on my Instagram at that point of like taking my daughter to Disneyland, and that was the end of it. And I started blowing up with DMs of people that are like, I heard you on this podcast. How do I do a for-purpose business? Like, that sounds amazing. I'm making all this money and I'm totally unfulfilled. And I've got like this, longing for significance and impact that I'm not achieving right now. Like, how can I do that through my business? So I looked at my wife and I was like, screw it. Like, let's do an event one time out in Vegas. We'll see if anyone shows up. We'll see if we can get any speakers to come out. And let's just teach the for-purpose business model. Like, let's throw an event. And so we named it Thrive. And we're going to teach this to people. And I explained the concept through a few people I got to Gary Vee. I told him what I wanted to do. And he's like, I'm in. I want to support.
I'm Albert Preciado. If you like what you're watching and you want to learn from an entrepreneur that built 8 companies and makes over $30 million a year, text me at 213-277-6208 and let's make it happen.
That ended up getting a hold of Robert Herjavec from Shark Tank, explained to him the concept of all these for-purpose entrepreneurs. He loved it and wanted to be a part of it. Once I had those 2 on my speakers, I got about like 600 people begging to speak on stage that year. So we ended up having a killer lineup for our very first year. My friends, of course, who I mentioned, Lewis Howes, John Lee Dumas, and a bunch of other incredible speakers came out. Ty Lopez, right? A few others that came to that 2015 conference. Threw up a website. I had no email list. I had no social media following. But I just, guerrilla marketed the hell out of it. And we ended up having 500 attendees at our very first Thrive event. And so it was designed to be a one-off. My wife and I had no intention of this being a long-term thing and starting a real brand or movement. It was just like, hey, everybody hit me up in my DMs. Let's teach them for 3 days how to do this. And by the end of that event on Sunday, we had created such an impact and so many people were so deeply moved by what we had created there that my wife and I looked at each other and we're like, screw it, let's do it one more time, which was Thrive 2. And then at the end of that event, we're like, screw it, let's just do this, for as long as we want. That was really the beginning of it. So back to your question, why did I start it? I had a little bit of a taste of the event world by speaking on these other stages for other people starting 2012. So I had about 3 years of touring around seeing other people throw events. So I kind of knew the mechanisms of what it took to create an event. And then I just had that unique idea of the for-purpose business model and was able to fill rooms and, grew Thrive up to 2,000 attendees and did it all the way through 22 and then just felt called to do other things. So put it on hiatus. It may be back someday. Stay tuned. But that was our whole movement, and that's what made us unique. Is we brought in some of the biggest badass speakers, same speakers you've had at Driven, Jesse Itzler's and Andy Frisella's and Ed Milet's, just the biggest badasses in the world coming and speaking. But it was all around how to not just create success, and that's the arrival point. But success is the starting point to then go out and be significant. Like, let's get you in the financial position where you don't need to think or worry about money anymore. You have complete time freedom and financial freedom. Awesome. Now let's go make your money matter for the rest of your life.
So question for people watching this, they want to start their own event. I've seen a lot of people start an event and then they fail, meaning they do it 1 year, maybe they do it a second year, but then they stop. And maybe, I don't know if it's the first year, they'll get a Patrick Bet-David or they'll get a Grant Cardone, per se, and they pay them a lot of money because they're not cheap. And then maybe they spend all their money and they don't know how to budget, they don't have experience, and they try to create their brand because they see like Cole Hatter, Grant Cardone, Albert, and what the events have been going on for years, and then they stop. But then there's those events that just, they do it over and over and over and over again. And I know how impactful it's been for my brand, because if I didn't start Driven 2016, I wouldn't be where I am right now. So because it just blew up my brand. I don't know if you also think the same, and it helped your brand having the events, because they're expensive. And you don't make a lot of money. At least I don't make a lot of money. Hopefully this year or this year it'll change because you're going to be on it.
Let's go.
But does that make sense? Like, a lot of people try to create an event and they just see others doing it and they think, oh, I'm going to do the same thing. Is it because they don't have the personality? What do you think is the difference between those that keep an event for like 8 years, 9 years, and those that do it once or twice and then they stop?
I think it could be a lot of factors. Personality could be one of them, and not even just, the audience's perception of their brand or personality, but their endurance of being able to get kicked in the nuts and the teeth, because really that's what the event industry is. And so I think probably the largest reason that most people start events and then end up not continuing them is probably they don't understand the economics behind an event. And to your point, it's not common to make big money at events. You obviously want to be profitable, but usually your event is like some sort of top of funnel for some sort of what we call ascension ladder, where you've thrown this event, you make some sort of an offer at that event, but then the attendees and the people who decided to join your offer, whatever it is, there's a future for them to continue as a business person to add lifetime value to those customers by creating more value in their lives and monetizing it in the future, right? So not to, just put a dollar sign on everyone's foreheads, but creating a journey for them where, hey, it starts at the event, but within the next 12 months, we're going to introduce all of these experiences that are going to change their lives and impact their lives forever, which are also profitable for us. And so where maybe, we made $1 million at the event or whatever it is, by the time the year is up, that event generated $5 million of business referrals and kind of joint ventures. What's interesting is, my event would make a few $1 million a year net, of course, off the mastermind of the various programs and products I serve. But where I made the most money in my mastermind is the partnerships I created through my mastermind members. Oh, sounds like someone got some sales out there.
Yeah, somebody closed the deal.
Yeah, right on. Real-time money being made.
You bring good luck. I'm going to have you more.
Yeah, right on. Let's see how many more of those happen in this podcast. And so anyway, my event would be profitable through the mastermind alone, but then the millions of dollars I can look back on that I made through the relationships I built through my mastermind members is where the real value comes out. And so I don't think that, to your question of the people that shut their events down, understood that. Like, truly, I made 8 figures in mastermind sales, but I've made multiple 8 figures in like the real estate deals and everything else I've done by partnering with my mastermind members. Yeah. And so when you look back at that Thrive was the genesis that created the relationships, like, largely you and I are hanging out because of Dan Fleischman and Brad Lee, who kind of introduced us and got us to be homies. The only reason I know those two guys was because of Thrive. Yeah. So like almost every relationship I have is either directly from Thrive or someone directly from Thrive introduced me to somebody else. Yeah. And then I knew how to create value in those ecosystems and make more money with those relationships.
Bro, I agree with that 1,000,000%. Like, the people always ask me, damn, Albert, you're like super connected. How do you meet all these people? Like, and they don't understand that I've been doing an event for a long time. Yeah. And all these speakers, like when they speak on your event, you get a podcast if you do it right. Yep. If you do a podcast with them one-on-one and they like you become friends, you get their cell phone number, then you do another thing. And that's how I created my relationships. Like, relationships are very important. And I don't mind spending $1 million for an event and making $1 million, breaking even, but the relationships that come would lead to more money. Yeah. And then, for example, like before here, I was with Neil Patel. Mm-hmm. He's like my best friend. And that guy is super, super successful. A lot of people don't know how successful he is. No, yeah. But he's huge. Yeah. He's huge. So I was at his house. And that's a relationship that happened because of the event. Mm-hmm. But it was like, I think driven 6 is when he spoke the first time, then driven 7. And then now he's going to be at driven 9 as well. Mm-hmm. But those relationships, they lead to other introductions to other relationships, which, I mean, I had Ed Milet, Andy Frisilla came to my event. Mm-hmm. They didn't even charge me. Wow. Just because I was introduced to them and they liked me and they were like, hey, dude, I'll support you at your event. Yeah. So I think that's kind of like, for me, the most powerful thing of events. It's a really good place to be around other successful people that might do business with you.
And to your point, relationships take time. You can't force relationships. So for you to be your 9th year now of Driven makes sense that over these 9 years, you've developed these relationships. And to the people that throw the one-off or, 1 or 2Z events that then don't see the value and quit, you weren't farming long enough. You weren't planting the seeds long enough. You weren't watering it long enough. And so, again, these relationships, and again, we're not trying to sound superficial here where we just have friends to make money off of them. These are mutually beneficial relationships where we together create enormous success in whatever it is that we're trying to do, whether it's money or impacting lives or both, best case scenario. And so, yeah, it's important. So for me, Thrive was 100% a mechanism to build my brand. Back then, that really mattered to me. And so I did it through what I called brand like borrowing.
Yeah.
Like no one knew who I was, but I had the biggest badasses in the world on my stage. So then people are like, damn, if all of these people came for Cole, I should probably give him a follow because he must be someone important too.
Yeah.
And so that's how I built my brand back when I was trying hard to do that stuff. And then the relationships, again, long term, and the friendships that have come out of it are priceless. Like, because I've already made tens of millions of dollars. I'm not going to die tomorrow. Like, I'm still going to make tens of millions of dollars, with these friendships and partners that I have for the rest of my career. So 40 years from now, looking back at Thrive, it could have been $100 million. Oh, there goes another sale. It startles me. Thrive might have been $100 million event for me by the end of my career through the relationships and the deals that I've done and have yet to do.
Yeah. No, yeah. So before we get into brand, I have a few notes here. So I have an event called Surge. Have you heard about it? Surge?
Surge? I know Life Surge. I don't know about Surge.
Oh yeah, Life Surge.
Yeah,
Life Surge, and then Aspire, as you know that one. And I see ticket prices so they're very similar, but a bit different. So I have the Aspire prices: $49, $99, $299, $749, and then Life Surge $97, $197, $297, and $497. Very, very similar, but one starts higher and ends lower, but they're very affordable tickets.
Yeah.
It's not like $5,000 VIP ticket or CEO ticket or whatever.
Right.
They're under 1,000, and the other one is under 500. All the tickets. So the way I see it is, I want to get as many people in the event as possible.
Yeah.
Because everybody's a consumer.
Yeah.
So you'll have a $10,000 product. You could probably finance it, and they qualify for it. They could buy the $5,000 product at the event. So if you have people that pay $5,000 or $10,000, you're gonna get less of those, but those might maybe buy a more expensive product.
Sure.
But how do you think is best to create an event? Do you want to have affordable tickets, or do you want to have also like super expensive tickets?
It kind of depends on the model. I'm friends with and know the founders of Aspire and Life Surge at Aspire. You got Andrew and Eddie. I actually, this time last year, helped them launch their real estate brand. So I spoke at all the Aspire front end events. They do a one-day front end event of like 2,000 to 4,000 attendees. And then I would speak for 45 minutes and sell a $297 ticket to come to their 3-day real estate event, where then I would show back up and speak there. So literally a year ago today, that's what I was doing for them. And then Life Surge, you've got Joe and Sean running that ship. And similar model. They do the 1-day event up front and then offer the people a ticket to come to, I believe it's a 3-day stock course or a 3-day real estate course. And so their model is get as many people in as possible, because they want to invite as many as can to that 3-day event where they get additional training and then ultimately offered to join the mastermind or the coaching program or whatever it is that they're offering. So for them, that 1-day model in these big arenas, I know that Life Surge literally just had an event on Saturday as of recording this in the Honda Center and had like 7,000 to 10,000 people there. Their model is make it cheap. They would probably give away tickets for free. The problem is no one shows up with a free ticket. So charge as little as we can to get people committed to showing up, but as many people as we can, because ultimately they want as many people to join the 3-day event as possible. Thrive was a different model. We had capacity. I couldn't fit more than 2,000 people there. And so I didn't want 2,000 people at $97. I did have a ticket that was $3,500, but that was limited to 50 people. My VIP was about $1,000. And then the general admission was around $400 to $500 when I was doing my event. But it's just a different experience. Again, not to take anything away from Aspire or Life Surge, but it's like a 1-day awesome experience, great speakers, and you're gone. At Thrive, we would do crazy events within the event. Like we would have this VIP dinner where I would spend $300,000 on just the VIP dinner of additional speakers that nobody else got to see, and just really gourmet meals and champagne and all the good stuff. for our real estate event that we just did in September, on Saturday, we rented out a nightclub and we had Rick Ross come and perform live to our audience. We didn't even tell them before they got there that was going to happen. So all of our VIP and highest level, we called it Insanity Pass holders, once they showed up, they didn't even know it. We're like, oh, by the way, we rented you a nightclub. The whole nightclub is closed to the public. It's just us. And it was being performed by Sick Ick opened up, and then Rick Ross gave them a private concert. So like, we're spending big money. And it's over 3 days. It's a totally different experience. So I would never charge 47 or 97 or whatever dollars like that, because it's a totally different, like I said, experience where I have a lot more cost of deliverable than the Life Surge or Aspire model do. So again, not knocking those guys. It's just a different model. But back to your point, it's really like, what's your end goal of the event, right? What are you trying to do? And for me, I was trying to get 100 people to join my mastermind. I could have sold hundreds into my mastermind because it was the greatest mastermind ever. And they literally called it that, the greatest mastermind ever. That was what they named it. And I'd never sold more than 100 people. And I knew that I could effortlessly put 100 people in my mastermind with 2,000 attendees. And since that was my goal, I didn't need more than 2,000 attendees. And I could sell 2,000 attendees between a $400 ticket and a $3,500 ticket. So that was my economic model. I didn't want it to be cheaper. I didn't want it to be more expensive.
I'm Albert Preciado. If you like what you're watching and you want to learn from an entrepreneur that built 8 companies and makes over $30 million a year, text me at 213-277-6208 and let's make it happen.
That would pay for the event, and then I would open up my mastermind to the 100 people. And then we had some other experiences like my Mexico retreat. I have an orphanage in Mexico that I just got back from Friday, so 3 days ago, or I guess 4 days ago now. And, we would do a retreat down there and stuff. But I knew what my goal was, being 100 members joining my mastermind. So I didn't need 5,000 attendees showing up at $47. I wanted 2,000 qualified individuals to find the 100 that would be a part of my crew, my Thrive.
So walk me through your presentation and how you sell, because you sell from stage.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that you sell from stage better than Russell Brunson, but Dan told me that you beat him in like the last time that you sold more.
Mm-hmm.
So that guy, I know he's like one of the best to sell from stage. Yeah. Did you learn from him or copy a few things, or is yours totally different? Can you walk me through how you sell on stage?
Totally. Oh, there's some similar elements. Totally different. Russell and I have different approaches. And again, I know Russell, he's great. And I was in the audience at 10X2 where he sold $3 million of ClickFunnels. And that was, a great presentation. I watched it. Most people have a value stack at the end. So Russell and I do the same thing where it's like, hey, here's what you're buying and here's all the other things we're going to throw in for free. And here's what that comes out to in total value. And if you back now, so all those urgency pieces and value value ladders, we do the same. As far as our speaking style, I'm pretty unique in the way that I speak from stage. And so how I do a pitch is real simple. I create a problem in my presentation and the product is the solution. And this isn't hocus pocus nonsense to try to extract money from people's pockets. It's pointing out a real problem. Because if I try to manufacture a problem and then convince the audience that is a problem, I'm going to lose sales. They're not going to agree with me. So I have to bring up something that is a real problem. Like, let's just make this up. If it's a real estate room and we're talking about interest rates, this is like a Pace Morby play. And I could talk about a real problem. Guys, interest rates right now is making real estate unaffordable. If you buy and finance a house for long-term cash flow because your mortgage payment is so high due to today's interest rates, it's not a cash positive play. So this doesn't make any sense. So I've pointed out a real problem that can't be argued, you can't dispute that. And then I provide the solution. Hey, come join our workshop for 3 days for $5,000 because we're going to teach you subject to financing where you can buy a house subject to the existing financing staying in place. And for homeowners who got a mortgage between 2019 and 2021 for 2.5% to 4% interest rates, you can take over their mortgage payments, reducing that monthly payment to the point where the house is cash flow positive. So here's the problem, interest rates. I'm just making this up on the fly.
Yeah.
Here's the problem, interest rates. And again, I'm not trying to convince them that's real. Like, they know that's a problem. Here's the solution. Understand sub 2, right? And this is, again, Pace Morby's whole brand, sub 2. Understand sub 2 financing, how to find these sellers, how to negotiate with them, how to do these deals legally. And that's the solution to high interest rates. So we've got 100 spots available for our upcoming workshop. It's $5,000 a piece, and there's the sign-up table in the back. Go, and 100 people spend $5,000 or whatever it is, and you make $500,000 in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And then this isn't hocus pocus, selling garbage from stage. Then when those people show up, you give them what they paid for, and you teach them how to do a sub-2 deal in this example. And so the way that I always sell is I address a problem that is real. I don't make up crap. I solve that problem through whatever the offer is that I'm giving them. And, back to Thrive, again, the problem is lack of fulfillment. Many of you in here are successful business people who have made millions of dollars, but there's that hole in your heart, that longing for contribution, for impact, for significance. We have a mastermind where over the next 12 months, we teach you through community how to be a for-purpose business owner where you're getting massive satisfaction out of your success, and you're in a community of 99 other peoples beyond yourself that are badasses, blah, 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 blah. So the problem is you're sick and tired of just working for money. And the solution is we're going to show you how through your business, not just make more money, but make it matter. Come join our community. And bro, we would have hundreds and hundreds of people apply.
And you say for purpose?
Yeah, for purpose.
What are the four purposes?
Oh, sorry, not for, F-O-U-R, for. So instead of, it's a combination. It's a combination of there's nonprofits, which are all about changing the world, but they don't make any money. They're all donation-based, right? 501c3s. And then you have for-profit, which is every other business out there. Yeah. We merged the two and call it for-purpose. So it's not a nonprofit, but it's not just a for-profit, which is just about, maximizing margins and making making income. It's about merging the two and maximizing your income to maximize your impact. Yeah. So for, F-O-R, purpose.
Got it. So how long is your presentation to pitch?
Totally depends. Again, at Aspire, I was doing it in 45 minutes because they had a one-day event, so they had to fit all these speakers in one day. I think that's like the absolute shortest you can go for a proper pitch, so to speak.
What's the best case scenario?
I would say like 60 to 90 minutes.
90 minutes would be the best, right?
Yeah. And again, it depends on how expensive the thing is that you're offering.
50K.
Right? Yeah. So if 50K is very high ticket, and usually that pitch would be at least 60 to 90 minutes. But what you really want to do as a stage presenter is before you get to the offer, have already sold them on that. Like I said, at my events, I would have, before the pitch, already got them in the belief that the problem my product solves is a real problem in their life. So when I get to the quote unquote pitch, I'm not selling them at that moment on why they want this. They've already decided they wanted it beforehand. This isn't manipulation. This is sales. This is influence. This is persuasion. And so I get on stage, and before the pitch, I'll do segments talking about whatever the problem is that my product solves. And then when I get up there, I'm not just feature and benefit selling. I am solving the problem that I created earlier. I really honestly learned this. You said, who did I learn this from? It wasn't Russell Brunson, but probably Tony Robbins. When I was early in my career, like 2012 through 14, learning how to speak on stage, I would watch hours and hours of Tony Robbins, not what he was saying like word for word, but what he was doing with his words. I'd be like, oh my gosh, 40 minutes ago, he said that this was a problem, and now his product is solving that. And I would see how he would like open a loop and then close it with his offer. And I was like, beautiful. And then I've literally been on stage for like 7,000 hours practicing that. And so I would say Tony Robbins has been my biggest influence of learning how to, again, sell. And then a lot of books I've read, like How to Win Friends and Influence People. And, just understanding that like people that get on stage and hammer people over the head with their products, like you're going to get the low-hanging fruit. But the real way to move an audience to making a decision to buy is we should say, number one, having a product that you know does what it does, that you claim that it does, that you can sell with integrity. Like if you know, like my mastermind, for instance, back when I was doing Thrive, I knew it was the best thing in the world at that time. There was nothing better. So I could, with integrity on stage, know that the people that were getting the opportunity to join that community were getting the best thing for their money they could possibly spend their money on. So it really helps to sell something that you don't just believe in, but that actually does what you claim it does. And that's just integrity, and that's super important for anybody that's watching this and wants to do sales, right? But then it's communicating up front, again, all the problems that your product sells, so that when you get to your product, they've already decided that they wanted it. Influence is another great book to read. Persuasion is another great book to read. And so, I've just been practicing this art for a long time.
Yeah. If you were single, you would be dangerous.
Yeah. Well, I'm old and married now, so no danger here.
You're not old. You're what, 42?
41.
41. Oh, you're my age.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, we're not old.
No, man. Well, I guess not. I feel
We're not-
the
we're
youngest.
We're not 50.
We were talking. Yeah, that's true. We were talking about running earlier. I feel actually the healthiest and the youngest and the best I've ever felt in a long time, for sure.
Yeah.
And so yeah, but anyway, so yeah, when it comes to selling from stage again, dude, it's an art, but it's also a science.
Yeah.
And I just want to overemphasize to your listeners and your audience that like having a product that actually does what you claim it does is really important, and having a great product that solves a real need in their lives is what gets it to
But
sell.
then the fulfillment, the product has to deliver. If not,
Yes.
they're going to be
Yeah,
mad.
I mean, you'll get a few people to sign up, a few hundred people to sign up, but then word will get out that your product sucks and your brand's over. So if you want longevity, then your product needs to absolutely do what it says it's going to do for people.
Yeah. Now, when you're selling the 50K product,
Yep.
and there's 2,000 people, did you sell like 5 million or 6 million from stage? How much was it?
Which event? What do we?
I think you had a 2,000.
Oh yeah,
event.
2002.
You sold how much?
6 point. Well, we did two different products. Of the $50,000 offer, we did 4.4 million. Andrew, 4.4 million, and then we had a $100,000 product that we did 2.2 million. 22 people. So collectively, it was like 6.6 million.
Dude, how do you do that? 2,000 crowd?
Yeah, it was 2,000 people in the audience, and we got
2,000. You collected almost 7 million.
wrote, not collected. We collected pretty well that event, like 70-something% on site. So we collected like high threes, like 3.8, 4 million on site
And
that
the rest
day.
is contract value.
The rest was, payment plans, or a lot of people don't want to do like the structured payment plan over the next 6 months or whatever it is.
Yeah.
They're just like, dude, it's a Sunday. Like I need to go sell some stock or some Bitcoin or whatever. Like I'll pay you on Wednesday. So a huge chunk of our collections comes in like the next 20 days. But yeah, we did 6.6. And then we also, through ticket sales and sponsorship revenue, did like another $1.5 million. So that was like an $8 million event of gross revenue.
Yeah.
And then the profits were pretty substantial on that event. Yeah.
So that's what we're gonna do with Driven.
Let's go.
So the 50K, 100K product, like people, how do they pay for it? Because not a lot of people have an Amex card with a 100K limit. Like how do they pay for that?
Yeah. So again, the 100K, without getting into all the details on the podcast, we only offered that to a select group of our attendees. It was by invite only. And so it was a much smaller room off the main stage. The main stage, we offered the 50K. We also offered a 15K too. So part of that 4.4 million in revenue was also 15K, but the majority was 50K. I think we did
50K is not that easy though. How do you get people to pay that?
as far as like being able to afford it, like with credit cards.
Are those people that have the credit cards?
Yeah. So again, most of them are in the position that they can do that. We also have, to get into the technical details, usually a third-party vendor that's someone who's vetted, who we trust, who can help give them some sort of financing.
Yeah.
There's companies we use where there are high net worth individuals that fund for things like this, for these individuals to get the capital that they need. Again, depending on the integrity of the person running the event and selling their various programs and products, we want to make sure, one of our number one criteria that we ask in our interviews is to make sure that this is something that is economically affordable for them. We don't want people joining our programs and then missing their mortgage payments.
What's the percentage that comes from like the special financing or the other lender?
I don't know, 15?
Oh, that
Yeah, he says between 10 and 15%.
That's very little then.
Yeah, yeah.
So most people just have
Well,
money.
and that goes back to your question 20 minutes ago. If everybody in the audience is paying $49, God bless them, you're going to have a larger portion of the audience that can't afford this level of investment.
Right.
If you have an audience that's paying $500 to $3,500 per their ticket, usually that attracts an audience that has a bit more financial means. And again, this is no judgment of human beings. It's just economics, socioeconomics. And so part of having that higher ticket usually means that you have people there that are in a different financial position. And so yeah, and then another thing for Thrive specifically is we would always cap it at 100. So it was easy to sell 100 spots to a room of 2,000. The other event we're talking about was pretty open-ended. It was like anyone who wants this can have it. We just had an interview process to make sure, again, that they're the right fit, that there's someone we think we can help, that they're in the right financial position, that they're not going to harm themselves financially by doing this. And then most people just have the availability on credit cards or cash. And then for the 100,000, back to your question, I would say like 17 of those ones paid in full, and only like 3 or 4 of them were on a payment plan. And it was like some sort of a payment plan over like the next 6 months. but it was affordable to them. And again, we only invited a handful of our 2,000 attendees to come to that opportunity, and ended up closing 22 of them at $100K each.
So I went to a real estate seminar in the Hilton and Universal Studios, and I remember like it was yesterday, and it's me and Sil go there, and this is like 10 years ago. No, like maybe 12 years ago. And I go there, and they're showing you how easy it is to get properties like in other states, and you buy them for like probates, and you get them for $20K, and you take over properties. And it was just one of those real estate events that they have like a workshop.
Yeah.
And then at the end, they make it seem so sexy. So
yeah, totally.
So they're telling you, look, I bought this property for $5,000, this property for $15,000. I got this property for $2,500. And you're like, I'm like, what the hell? Like, how do you? And this is me like 12 years ago. So I'm like, how do you do this?
Yeah.
So they're painting it like you're in Disneyland, but for adults, if that makes any sense.
Sure. Yeah.
And that you could get it for like very cheap, close to nothing.
Right.
And get that experience. And so I'm sold already. Like, I'm sold.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, whatever you're doing, like, I want it. Like, how do I get it? I'll pay whatever to get a property for $2,500.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what state, $2,500. I just take it over. So they give you a lot, but they don't give you the details. This is how you do it.
Yeah.
So then at the end, it's kind of like what you were saying, where they scare you and they put fear and the problem, and then you're like, man, I relate to this. I'll pay whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm already on to pay whatever. So then at the end, they have like that soft pitch. All right, guys. So if anybody here is interested, we can help you. Go to the back room, the back table, and look. It's $100,000 for this, but we're gonna cut it down 50%, so it goes down to 50. But if you take action right now, you pay in full. We'll drop it down to 30,000.
Yeah.
If you don't have the money right now, we'll help you get financing. So then we go to the back, and then they're like approving me for credit cards on the spot. Mm-hmm. So they're saying, let's try Chase, let's try B of A, let's try like this credit union card, let's try this. So they're running all these credit card applications.
In the meantime, your credit score went down 50 points from all those inquiries.
Yeah, and then I see it with my own eyes. All these people are getting all these credit cards, and they're just swiping, and creating money on the spot.
I'm Albert Preciado. If you like what you're watching and you want to learn from an entrepreneur that built 8 companies and makes over $30 million a year, text me at 213-277-6208, and let's make it happen.
Have you heard of anything like that?
Yeah, totally.
Is that good or bad? And what do you think about that?
So yeah, let's start at the end. Those like third-party vendors that basically put your credit profile into their software that then, applies at 50 cards simultaneously for you to see what you qualify for and for how much. I don't necessarily have a problem with that. What I would be concerned about is what is the financial position of that person? Like, are they in the position that whatever they're going to spend those credit cards on, they can comfortably afford those payments? And then the biggest question is, what the heck are these people buying? Like, who is the individual offering this product to them? Because there are many people, and I'll put myself in this category, that put their soul into their fulfillment, like I did with my mastermind. In the 8 years I ran my event, never once ever did I have a refund. Ever. There's never been a person that got to the end of my fulfillment and said they didn't get their money's worth and they wanted a refund.
Not even one?
Ever. Not one ever. There's people that come to Thrive, of course, the big event with 2,000 people, and it doesn't matter what you give them on Sunday night, they're gonna be like, oh, this sucked, Gary Vee was stupid, and whatever, Russell Brunson was no good, give me my money back. So of course I had refunds at Thrive, but in my mastermind, never once ever in 8 years did anyone say they didn't get their money's worth or wanted it back. So again, I take pride in that. And there are people like me out there that genuinely care about the result their customers or community members or whatever you call them are getting. And so I wouldn't have a problem with people using one of those third-party vendors, getting access to credit cards and investing in something that is actually going to do what it says it's going to do and change their lives in a powerful way. For some of these other people like you were describing that oversell their programs. Luckily, the FTC is cracking down on that a lot. There are the industry that we are a part of is littered with bodies of people that make false income claims, especially in real estate specifically. They're like, oh, I made all this money in real estate. And really they're making no money in real estate. They're just making money in their education. And because they claim to be making all this money in real estate, the FTC comes in, audits them, says, you didn't make any money in real estate. You're making it all in your seminar company. And these people go to jail. All their assets get repossessed, and they get liquidated to pay restitution to all their victims, their customers. So luckily, the FTC is more aggressive now than it's ever been on these people that sell crappy products, right? That are just there to try to extract money from their audience and not fulfill. But if you have a great product from someone who deeply cares about the results that their community is getting by being a part of that product, and if these people are using credit cards to finance that, and that person is in a financial position to service that credit card debt every month, then I don't care, right? Like if these people are financially capable of paying that credit card payment and being able to support the rest of their lives financially, and the product that they're investing is going to change their lives if they do the work, like a gym membership or anything else. You can join the gym. That doesn't mean you're losing weight. You actually show up and do the work, right? So every program's the same. You can have the best program in the world. If people aren't putting in the work, they won't get the results. But the program is the best opportunity that they have to change their lives in the way they want to change it, and they can afford the payment of whatever that looks like, game on. That's like leveraging for real estate. I've bought deals that I couldn't afford that stretched me financially, but when it sold on the back end, made me so much money, it was worth the risk. Same is true with investing in yourself.
Yeah. Cole, what's a failure that you're grateful for, if that makes any sense? Like maybe your biggest or one of the biggest failures you had since you became an entrepreneur, and then that failure almost put you out of business maybe, or that failure stressed you out a lot. I don't know what that is, but that you're really grateful because it made you a better person, a better businessman.
Gosh, I have so many that come to mind. It's like, which one would be the most value for your audience? So to be clear, I failed.
For somebody like in their early 20s, maybe 24. And right now, maybe they're making good money right now, like really good money, good looking, and more for men, because we're men, and they're making more money than ever, and they think that it's gonna never end, and they're living like James Bond, and then like there's a lot of temptations out there. Like what going back to when you were at that point, what's an advice that you can throw to the young high value men out there?
Well, one thing I want to make sure I am clear on is that I have failed way more than I've succeeded. If you look at my, call it 19, 20-year career as an entrepreneur, I have failed hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. I've started probably 35 businesses, and like 30 of them have failed, and several of them like failed on fire. Luckily, I've gotten a half dozen or a dozen things right in my life that have made millions of dollars and have made way more than my losses of my failures. So to be clear, advice from a failure, because again, if we're keeping score, my batting average is very low. But again, praise God, the successes I have had have made up for everything. So I was going to talk about the origins of Thrive and how for the first two events I actually lost money, and that was going to be kind of one of my lessons that I'm most grateful for. But since you kind of changed it at the end of like advice to like, maybe some men specifically who are gunning and succeeding. I don't know if you're single or in a relationship or whatever it is, but it's very easy to get caught up in like the flex of success, of competing with everybody you see on social media and chasing things that at the end of your life actually don't matter. And because I've almost died a few times, and we didn't talk a ton about my accidents, but in the accident I talked about that car accident, one of my best friends did pass away. So when I say I almost died, like I did almost die. I wasn't supposed to survive. And then I was in a different accident 66 days later where my other best friend and I both were in the accident, and he died and I didn't. So in a 66-day period, I was in two accidents where my two best friends died, and I was the only survivor. And it was rough for me. And I got a real sensitivity to listening to specifically men who are older than me. And I've read so many, what would you call them, like interviews or surveys of elderly people on what their top 5 regrets are. And I've seen dozens of different answers, but the number one regret everybody always has is that they didn't spend more time with their family, right? And so what I would say, again, this is a bit long-winded of an answer, to those of you that are like succeeding or super ambitious for the success, maybe the success hasn't come yet, but you're nose down, you're grinding, like the world tells you need to have hundreds of millions or billions of dollars to be happy. You don't. At the end of your life, the money you've made and the things that you've purchased won't matter nearly as much as the experiences you've had with the people you love most. So one of the mistakes I made early in my career was I had a beautiful wife, and at the time, one kid. I have 3 kids now, but like one little daughter. And I was like, I'm gonna put my head down and I'm gonna sacrifice right now so that for the rest of our lives, we have all this money and get to like hang out. And I made massive sacrifices and missed a ton of my oldest daughter, her early years, because I was building this thing. And somebody pulled me aside and said, Cole, like you're on the 100-year plan. If you make it to 100, you're doing the right thing. What if you get hit by a bus tomorrow? Would you regret how you've spent the last 3 or 4 years? Because yeah, you're in build mode and you need to be future focused. But if you died tomorrow, would you have lived the last few years of your life the way that you have, or would you have done it differently? And I'll never forget that conversation I had. And so now I always say that I'm not a businessman that happens to have a family. I'm a family man that happens to have a business. And by just shifting that priority, things have changed for me in such a positive, dramatic way. My wife and I, 2.5 years ago, were in a very rough season. We weren't divorced or divorcing, I should say. We were in the same house. Everything was good, but like we didn't like each other. And I've done so much.
Why?
Because I was a dick. I was a dick. I was super involved in my career. I was super involved in my public image of trying to be like super cool. I had massive frustration tolerance issues. The littlest things would piss me off so much. I had massive ego, and I was blowing my family out, dude. I had 2 daughters at the time. My son's 2 now.
This is when?
2022. March.
Oh, 2 years, like 3 years ago.
Yeah, March of 2022.
You sound like me, but like my wife gets on my nerves sometimes.
Oh yeah, well we do that, and I bet you get on her nerves too. And
Sure.
my wife can get on my nerves, and I get on her. So like, let me be clear, I don't have a perfect marriage, but in March of 22, like my marriage was ending, right? Like we were separating again, not on paper. We didn't say the D word, like hey, we need a divorce, but like we would avoid each other. And I realized in that moment that I was going to lose the things that actually mattered most to me. So I went through like gnarly self-transformation, bro. And like I can say right now with complete confidence, looking in your eyes, my marriage is the best it's ever been. My relationship with my children right now is the best it's ever been. And very likely this year I will make more money than I've ever made. It took a bit of recalibration and relearning how to prioritize my time. But like when I go, I don't really care if anyone say like Cole had rad supercars and he lived in his mansion and he had all this stuff. Like I want them to say like he was the most present father for his children we've ever seen.
Yeah.
He was the most enduring and passionate husband towards his wife we've ever seen. To your point, there are the shiny things. Bro, when you get off stage, not to sound arrogant, but there are women in the audience, just like you're a rock star at a rock conference, you get off stage at one of these entrepreneurial conferences, women come at you. I want people to say like he was so faithful and dedicated to his wife, like he had never a temptation. And I believe where I'm going next, because again, believing I'm a Christian and believing that I'm going to go to heaven, like I want to be able to point back at my life at the decisions I made and have nothing that I need to explain to God as it comes to how I chose to prioritize my time around my wife and my children.
You don't think like one of the problems was that you were like speaking a lot, being out there, and
that's
you're
a
good-looking guy, so like you get all these hotties that are like throwing themselves. Hey, Cole, can I take a picture?
Not always hotties. Sometimes the very opposite come and throw themselves at you, right? But anyway, go on with your question.
Well, talking about the hotties. Mm-hmm. So the hotties, like, how do you deal with those type of temptations? Because for me, and for many men that want to be real, I think that, or maybe at least for me, like women are temptations.
Yeah.
Like especially the hotties. And then the liquor, parties, you're at networking events, like seminars, the happy hours, and you got to do those things for your job, for your business. Mm-hmm. But then wife is not always going to be happy with, oh, why are you coming home late? Where are you at? This and that. We have Dan Fleischman. He travels a lot as well.
Yeah.
All these business influencers, they deal with all of this. So how do you how do you deal with those temptations? How do you beat them? And have you ever kind of been like close to, oh fuck, I almost fucked up?
Praise God, no. I haven't been close to like almost cheating on my wife or any of that. Thank God. One of the boundaries that I've set that my wife has not asked for, but that I've done, actually two boundaries I'll share with you. Number one is I just don't drink when I'm not with her on the road. So when I go to like one of Dan's events, I'm going in Miami in like 10 days.
That's dangerous, Miami.
Yeah.
You're not going to drink?
No, I won't drink. Again, I'm enjoying this glass of champagne. Thank you for refilling it. But like I have complete control over alcohol in my life. I could quit today and not drink for 6 years. Andrew can vouch for that. Like I've got a really good switch in my mind for things that I'll do that I'll just completely cut off. And
the seasons.
Seasons, exactly. Yeah. So like that's one, I guess, strength I have. So anyway, I don't drink without wifey being there. And it's not because I've had close calls. It's just really out of respect for her. Another thing that my mentor, Than Merrill, taught me early in my career is I will never, ever be alone with a woman ever. Because I'm afraid that I'll touch her, she'll touch me. I'm afraid she'll make false allegations and sue me for money. So you and I have been blessed financially and have a big net worth and a ton of cash. And my mentor told me, dude, don't ever get caught like in an elevator even with a woman alone, because she could say you grabbed her butt or touched her breast or whatever it is and sue you for $100,000. And your attorney's going to say, pay her 25 because that's cheaper than defending this. And they'll extort money out of you. This is no disrespect to women. Again, I love women, but this is what my mentor Than taught me. Yeah. So I am never, ever, there's no woman in the world that I'm not married to that can say that I've ever been alone with her. Even one of my employees, her name's Victoria. She's amazing. And long story short, we usually work from my house. There have been times where like my wife will leave and I'll have this little red flag go off in my mind. And I'm like, oh, like Victoria, we're home alone. Let's go to Starbucks. And Andrew can vouch for this. We then together go work at Starbucks. She's married to a guy named Bobby, who's like one of my best friends. There's no chance of Victoria and I ever doing anything. But I would realize, oh, we're in my house alone right now. Let's go finish our work day today at Starbucks where we're in a public place. So those two things have kept me safe. But I've got more to say about this. So I don't drink without my wife, and I'm never, ever, ever alone with a woman, not because I don't trust myself with a woman, but because, again, I don't want any false allegations of sexual harassment or any of this crap. You literally can't accuse me of that because I've never been in a position where I didn't have witnesses in our proximity.
What if it's like an ugly girl? You wouldn't get
Doesn't matter, bro. Ugly girls will sue you for money too, bro. Like, they don't have to be hot to say you harassed them.
Who's gonna believe it, though?
Anybody. Especially someone like you, dude. Like, you've got a reputation to protect, and if she's gonna go on the internet and say that you molested her or any of this stuff, like you'll pay her to just shut up, right? Hush money. And
I'm Albert Preciado. If you like what you're watching and you want to learn from an entrepreneur that built 8 companies and makes over $30 million a year, text me at 213-277-6208 and let's make it happen.
That's a cheap shot. So anyway, again, I don't want to get too much into that. Like, I don't want women to look like they're like predatory after us, like trying to come for money. But that was because my mentor is worth $1 billion, right? Yeah. Than has a lot of real estate and a lot to lose. Yeah. And so he's just like, dude, just don't even give a woman the opportunity to make false allocations against you from damaging your character, but also damaging your pocketbook. But back to my wife, like, I'm just in a really unique situation that my wife and I have just a really rad relationship. Yeah. And she's done things for me that have earned the right for me to be faithful for her for the rest of my life. Like, she has, it gets me emotional, but like, she has done things for me that I absolutely, like, she deserves my 100% faithful commitment for the rest of my life. Again, going back to our religious.
Are you referring to something that happened where she had your back, like when
100 times? Here's one example recently. A year ago right now, I was in the worst season of business. I had a real estate deal going sideways. All kinds of things were going wrong in my life, financially, like in my business, not personal life. I had a partner steal over $1 million cash. Like, all kinds of crazy crap all happened at the same time. When it rains, it pours. And we believe as Christians that there's power in fasting, that like if you fast and go before the Lord in prayer, that there's power in that. My wife, for me, did a 7-day water fast. She literally starved herself and drank water only, not even coffee, not juice, nothing, water for 7 days, and prayed her face off for me to be able to make it through that season and that God would shelter me from like any more attacks on me. Like, that might sound stupid to your audience, but like she starved herself for her husband to have my back and didn't even tell me until I noticed a few days in. I'm like, why aren't you eating? She's like, oh, I'm just doing this like health fast thing. And then at the end, she told me why she had done it. Like, that's the first example that comes to mind. Like, my wife has done so much crazy sacrifice for me that at a minimum, she deserves my faithfulness for the rest of my life. And I can go on and on and on about the things and the sacrifices that she has done for me.
When did you marry your wife?
I married her in 2011. So we've been married 14 years this September.
Yeah.
And we have a 12-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 2-year-old. And again, we have something special. Like when we go into those that observe Sonia and I, my wife's name's Sonia, like we do have something special. I don't think it's unique. I think anyone can have something special if they work for it. And again, dude, just 2.5 years ago, we were not like this. But she's done the craziest things
but
for
business,
me, bro.
business and the relationship is like, it's full of ups and downs.
100%.
Like you have, like you said, seasons. You have seasons where everything's beautiful and perfect. And I think that I know when you go through the toughest times in business, when you see money running out, whether it's somebody took it, somebody stole it, or just the industry is bad, 2008 or a recession, whatever, and your people are not producing, you have the expenses are still there.
Yeah.
And you have to figure it out. Yeah. And when you have a woman that supports you, even though she sees like, oh fuck, he's struggling, he's a little bit broke right now, and this might be it, but I believe in him, and I know he can get us through this. And for as a man, you know that it's not only about you, because if it's only about you, you probably don't give a shit. You're like, I'm good being homeless. It's just
totally.
me.
I'll live in my car.
But when you have your kids and your wife, that if you fail, you destroy their lives. You know you can't quit. Yeah. So like, how important is it to have that powerful wife that has your back in the good times and in the bad times? And if she's watching here, what message do you have for her?
I would say it's super important. Marrying the right person. Especially as men, having the right wife is the only reason I am where I am today and I am who I am today, undoubtedly 100%. And again, we've been together 16 years. I have 16 years of stories I could tell you of where most people would have walked away. From the season where I was just being a dick, she didn't deserve that, she could have left, to the seasons where I was struggling financially. When I met Sonia, I was making money, and we've always made money, and then we've made millions of dollars, and so like we've never struggled financially. But there was the season last year where luckily we made it through, but things did not look good for a while. She could have easily bounced because of just the pressure and the stress. Instead, she leaned in and like was the strong one in our relationship, if I'm being honest, for like a season. And so to your question of like how important is it, I couldn't operate at the level I do without the support I have from her. My prayer to everybody watching this is that you can find that type of companionship that she and I have. And again, I want to be clear, we're not perfect. I piss her off still. I probably pissed her off today in some way. And there are times where she's nagging and all that stuff. But like, dude, undoubtedly, that soulmate, that ride or die that she is in my life, that I have my biggest fan, my best friend in my corner, just like our wedding vows said, like for better or worse, like, dude, we've had worse, and she's been there and she's leaned in those seasons instead of leaning out. Like, dude, I wouldn't have made it through without her. 100%. Yeah. And then, a message I have for her is just, thank you for not giving up. Like, she believes in me sometimes more than I believe in myself. And it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. To wrap up here, your kids. How important are your kids for you, personal and your business? What are their names?
My 12-year-old is Brighton. So she's my oldest. She's again,
she's a young woman now.
Yeah, dude, she's 5'3" and like 100 pounds. She's grown so much.
My older one is Italia. She's 8, and she's already looking like a young woman.
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
11, I can imagine.
Yeah, Brighton these last like 3 years has gone from like little girl to young woman for sure. She shares clothes with my wife now. My wife's 5'3", my daughter's 5'3". It's crazy. So anyway, I have a 12-year-old named Brighton. I have an 8-year-old named Eliana. She'll actually turn 9 this month. She was born on leap day 2016, February 29th. So there is no February 29th this year. But at the end of the month, she'll turn 9. And then my little boy, Colson. So I'm Cole. He's Cole's son. And he's 2 or 2.5 now. And we were done with the 2 girls, right? They were like, what were they? They were like 8 and 5. And I went to my wife and I was like, let's just do one more. And after begging for 6 months, she said yes. And we got my boy. So those are my kids, two girls and a son. And you know, how important are they to the business and everything else, dude? They're like, and this might sound cliche, but it's true. They're like my biggest reason why. Not just why I make the money and not just why I have to have the level of success, but why I make the sacrifices I make. Again, Andrew behind the camera can tell you 1,000 times where I'm taking red-eye flights. Here's one example. I was producing an event in Las Vegas, Nevada. So I wasn't just speaking at it. I owned 50% of the event. It was my event with one other individual. And it was a 3-day event. And my daughter had a soccer practice, not a tournament, nothing special. She was 7 at the time playing AYSO soccer, and I was the coach. And it was going to be the first game of the season that I was going to miss, and it killed me. So I paid 18 grand for a private jet to fly back from Vegas at 6 o'clock in the morning of my event to go to her game that was at 9 a.m., watch her game, coach it, be there for her, kiss her goodbye, go back to the private jet, was back in Vegas by noon so that when the lunch break ended, I was on stage and my audience didn't even know I was
Wasn't
missing.
that worth it, though?
100% worth it.
It's like money. People that don't value money, they don't value time. Like
Totally.
money buys you time.
Absolutely. So I've spent 18 grand to watch a 40-minute 7-year-old soccer game. But it meant everything to her that I didn't miss.
Yeah.
And I was able to structure it that Saturday morning. I wasn't speaking.
Did you
My
tell
guest
everybody
speaker
on
was speaking.
stage that you did that?
Yeah, when I got back, I told them, and she won her game, and she
Yeah.
actually had a hat trick. I remember that game perfectly.
Yeah.
So she scored 3 goals that game. Oh, there's another sale.
Dude, I'm going to keep this podcast going on for another hour.
Yeah, dude, we're just crushing sales in here. It's the good vibes we're putting out there.
Yeah, a lot of good vibes.
But so that's one dumb example of like the sacrifices
Yeah.
I'm willing to make for my kids. So my kids are my why, not just why I have to make as much money,
Yeah.
but why I have to make them my priority. And
Yeah.
my goal is to live my life with no regrets, that we can fly on private jets, that we can travel to the most beautiful parts of the world. And I was able to accomplish all of that without missing a single soccer game or a single dance recital or a single parent-teacher
But
conference.
Let me ask you a question, because all our kids have been, I'm not going to say the A word, but I'm going to say they were unplanned.
Uh-huh.
So you understand what I'm saying, right?
Yeah,
Like,
totally.
It's not like I said, "Hey, babe, can we have a baby, please, babe,
Right.
babe?" Just like let me finish. No, like it was not like that. It was just like we had a little bit too much champagne, and
Totally.
and then like, oh shit, we're
Yeah.
baby's coming. So like, do you plan it, or why can't you just have an accident and have another one?
Only the boy was planned, or we tried.
Oh, okay.
My oldest daughter, we made her on Valentine's Day. So that was a lot of champagne and a lot of partying naked. Unexpected, but very welcomed.
Yeah.
And then my
Unexpected is the right word.
Yeah, unexpected, but very welcomed. And then my other daughter was made on Memorial Day. Because, when they do the ultrasound, however medicine works nowadays, they tell you the date of conception. So they
Yeah.
look at your little embryo and they're like, oh, well, based on its size, you conceived on this day. So
Yeah.
for my oldest, they're like, oh, February 14th. And I was like, yeah, I remember. And then my other daughter on Memorial Day, I remembered that one too. And then my son, we were actually trying because I wanted that third kid. To your point, why not another one? I would have a fourth one today. Like, let's finish this bottle right here. Andrew will drive me home. Wifey and I can get right into it, and baby boy or girl can be on the way. But she is done. She has told me 3 is enough, and she doesn't want it. So we are this is the first year we've publicly announced it, but we're going to adopt. We don't know when or how. We're just putting it out there that God, we're open to a fourth through adoption. Probably not a baby, because I want people who struggle to have children to be able to adopt like an infant,
Yeah.
But in my
that's good.
perfect world, somebody that would split the boy and the girl. So Eliana's 8, Colson's 2, like a 4-year-old. I could see us adopting in the next year or two.
Yeah.
But dude, I would make a baby with her right now. Like, Andrew knows this.
I mean, you're a closer, so just
I mean, I would,
Use your-
but to her defense, she did have some medical challenges with
Okay,
our
got
last son. The first 2, no issues, but the last one was pretty rough on her.
Yeah,
And
makes
so
sense.
she still could. No doctor said like, hey, you can't anymore. but it was like real rough on her. And so out of respect, we'll be done making our own, but probably will adopt, I would say, God willing, in the next 24 months.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm really proud of you. So here, 2 more things. I know that that you like cars, right? You like cars?
Yeah.
What's like one of your favorite cars?
That I own or just out there?
One that you own and one that's out there.
Of the cars I own, probably I'll go with my Viper, just because it's so brutal and just, I always tell everybody that, like, when I get behind the wheel of my Viper, like, it's an arm wrestle. It's trying to kill me the whole time.
Yeah.
So probably my Viper of the cars I own. I do love cars and collect cars. Of cars that are out there, I think the Ford GT is probably my favorite, just because of the history. If you know the story, and now there's a movie about it, so most people know the history. But Ford was buying Ferrari way back in the day.
You don't like Ferraris?
No, I love Ferraris. I love Lambos. Dude, I'll take an SVJ.
You know I'm a Ferrari guy, right?
I do remember seeing Ferraris literally on your stage, I think, in Driven back in the day.
Yeah.
Personally, I like the Lambo over the Ferrari.
Yeah.
So I would take an SVJ in a second, or the Revuelto, right? Bring it on. And that is like my third favorite. So the Ford GT, mostly because not only is it a badass car, but the automotive history of, again, Ford trying to buy Ferrari screwing them at the signing table, Ford being like, okay, building the Ford GT and then getting first, second, and third place at Le Mans is like the biggest FU in automotive history. So just because of that, I love the Ford GT. It's a great car too, but like the history behind that vehicle of why it was invented, no offense to Ferrari, is my favorite car. And then I would probably get myself, a Revuelto or an SVJ, Lambo. But yeah, so I like cars, dude. They're my favorite, and I got nothing but love for Ferrari too. Like, I've driven a bunch of my buddies' Ferraris. A lot of times we go to Vegas and we rent cars and we go out to like Hoover Dam and back. And I've rented a Ferrari a bunch. I've never owned a Ferrari, but mad respect for the brand. They're a great car.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. So, what's one thing here that you've never, maybe a surprise story that you never spoken about that has happened in Cole Hatter's life?
Well, I would say the adoption thing. That's the first time.
Really?
I mean, I've only shared that. I don't even know if my parents know that yet. So that's only been like
Next 24 months.
Yeah. That's only
Can
been
you do
something.
it in 12 months?
I mean, again, God knows who he or she is out there, and as soon as our family meets that little child, I'm down. Like, it could happen today. My wife could call me. But so we're open as soon as it happens. So I would say that's a big announcement, because I literally don't even know, Andrew, if I've told my parents. This was one we had like a barbecue, and there's like 5 or 6 people over when Sonny and I
We started talking about family and kids.
I don't remember. Oh, it was the Popes were over. It was like around New Year's Eve. Oh, we were talking about New Year's and what's going to be different this year. And I was like, I got something.
I'm Albert Preciado. If you like what you're watching and you want to learn from an entrepreneur that built 8 companies and makes over $30 million a year, text me at 213-277-6208 and let's make it happen.
We're going to adopt. So that's a new story.
What about another news story, since you said that?
Yeah, since I already said that one.
Something you never shared before on the public.
Something I've never shared before in the public. God, I'm such an open book. I don't know that there's anything I haven't shared. I would say, this is random, but I'm feeling more called now towards ministry than ever before. And I could see myself in the next several years no longer speaking on business stages, but speaking at churches for free. So I make a lot of money speaking on stages, selling and just getting paid a speaker's fee. I could literally see myself taking all my speaker experience and talents and speaking for free to churches of little audiences about things that matter a lot to me right now, versus the 4,000 crowd audiences like I did at Aspire and Sling.
Like in Christian churches?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I'm feeling really called to that right now.
Because
I've never said that. Even Andrew's never heard that.
John Maxwell is a Christian, right?
Yeah. So
I've been to
maybe
his house.
Yeah, John Maxwell is a great role model of mine. I've read his books.
I paid him.
Thinking for a Change is one of.
He mentored me one.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah.
Yeah, John C. Maxwell. One of his books recommendations is Thinking for a Change, and that book completely changed my life early on in my entrepreneurial career.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm a huge fan of John C. Maxwell. So maybe something like that. I mean, he still caters to the business space too, but yeah, maybe I see myself evolving into a John C. Maxwell. So I don't know if that's interesting to your audience, but
Tim
that's something I've
is
never said
also
before.
Christian. right?
Tim Story? Yeah, Tim Story is a dear friend of ours. He spoke at like 3 of my Thrive events. Each year in my mastermind, for our very first kickoff welcome call, he would always speak every year as our opening speaker. So like Tim spoke at Aspire, so we would travel around and do the Aspire.
He's gonna be at
stages
Driven
together.
9 too.
Is he?
Yeah.
Dude, Tim Story.
I've known that he's been supporting me since Driven
I should
1.
literally call him right now. He'll probably answer. Put him on speakerphone and be like, dude, I'm with Albert right now. We just want to say hello. Are you going to call him?
Let's see if he answers me or you.
Okay. All right. You try first and then I'll try.
Yeah, he'll like not answer me sometimes because he's always traveling, but sometimes he'll.
Yeah. If
pick
he's
up
on
out
an
of the blues.
airplane, you're not going to get any luck. All right. Calling Tim Story on the spot.
Oh yeah, he's not here. International.
Oh, yeah.
It sounds like the
Mexico or
it's maybe in Cabo or somewhere.
yeah. Should I try and see if he answers me?
Yeah, try it. Wait, after I hang on. See what he likes better.
But see,
Was he in Europe?
no, I feel like the Europe's the double. Boop boop. Each country has like a different.
Try calling him now
Okay, all right. Well, but now it doesn't really count because maybe he'll answer my call because
because he woke up.
yeah. You just got him close to his phone, right? And so, what? Oh, he's in Dubai? Oh, so he's asleep right now.
Let's see. Oh yeah, the last story he posted was 2 hours ago, so he probably just knocked out. What time is it in Dubai?
Yeah, almost tomorrow morning. Like, it's
Yeah, he is in Dubai.
yeah, it's 6:00 p.m. here.
Well,
so
let's play again. Try calling him, see if he answers.
okay. He'll be like, "Why are Cole and Albert calling me at 5:40 in the morning Dubai time?" Poor guy. He's trying to sleep. His phone's blowing up right now. So what time is it in Dubai? 5:48. Oh, dude.
Cole,
Tim,
shit.
what's up, bro?
are you with Albert Preciado?
I am with Albert. How'd you know?
Because it's so funny. I'm in Dubai.
Yeah, we just figured that out. We looked at your story, and now I feel bad for calling.
Oh no, it's okay. I'm awake, and you'll be proud of me, both of you, because I'm gonna go to the gym in about 20 minutes.
Nice. Well, we are literally on the air right now on Albert's podcast, and we were both just talking about how much we love and appreciate how you've supported us and just who you are as a human being. So he tried calling you, and then I was like, I'll bet you if I call, he answers. And you did, so thank you, bro. And we just wanted to say we love you, dude, and thank you for everything you've done for us.
Well, that means a lot. And here's the thing: is so I saw Albert. Can Albert hear me?
Yeah.
He can hear you.
Thanks for not answering me, Tim.
Albert, I was getting ready to go to the gym because I'm trying to look even half as good as you. And so I was reaching for the phone, and then it went off. And then I saw Cole call, and I had a feeling both of you guys were together.
Yep, we're together.
All right, I forgive you. I forgive you, man. You're good.
But listen, thank you both for caring about me, because we're all stirring each other up to this next level that we're going. So I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Hey, bro, we're due for a call anyway. So when you're back from Dubai, let's get together. I'll get set up with Joseph or whoever. But we love you, man, and I'm sure you're out there changing lives. So good luck in whatever you're doing in Dubai.
Hey, Tim, and Cole's gonna be at Driven 9, so we're all gonna be there.
Ooh, nice. Okay, so we'll all be together. You guys, this conference I'm at is amazing. It's called the World Government Summit. World Government Summit. There are 6,000 people, and Elon Musk is speaking today.
Oh, wow.
But it's wild. Like, I spoke right after the president of Poland,
Sheesh.
and I did on the miracle mentality. But really, really good.
Well, they're lucky to have you, man.
No, that was nice. Okay, I appreciate you guys.
All right, love you, bro. We'll talk soon.
Love you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Yeah, dude, Tim's story is a class act.
Yeah.
So Tim's story, perfect example. Announcement to the world. Like, Tim's story does business conferences and like yours and mine and whatever he's doing right now. But he pastors a church in LA.
Yeah.
And so, like, maybe I don't go all the way of leaving business events and just doing, churches and ministry. But maybe my brand evolves into more of like a Tim Story brand. I just feel called to that, bro.
Yeah, I like that.
And if I got hit by a bus today, I would have no regret for how much time I spent on business stages, but I would regret that I didn't spend enough time on evangelical stages or stages in front of audiences of believers and just inspiring them to live lives on fire for God, man.
And closing thoughts as well, like if I get hit by a bus today, like my only regret would be that I didn't spend enough time with my kids. I think I could have been a better father. But I'm working on that.
Well, I'm going to challenge you, bro.
Yeah, well, Neil Patel's gotten on me on that too. So he said, hey, at least 6 times a week, you should be home early to have dinner with them.
Yeah.
Because right now they're kids. And if you're so focused on making the money and ignoring them or giving them very little time, and it's just money, working long hours every single day. Not to say that I don't work long hours, but wake up at 3 a.m., at least he wants me to be home by 5, but I told him I can't do 5. I could probably do like 6:30 and be home and have dinner with them because they'll remember us. And then later on, they want to take care of you when you're old. So he's telling me, Neil, because he has a lot of friends that are like super high net worth. And the biggest advice they gave him is like, hey, I'm worth $10 billion, but I'm old and my kids don't like me.
That's what I was saying an hour ago.
Because I'm Mr. $10 billion guy, but I always ignored my kids, and I was just so focused on making money, chasing tail, and doing other things. So then the kids don't like the dad, and the dad's already he needs help showering, and nobody cares about the dad.
So here's a good closing thought. Let's just hope you get 85 years of life or longer.
Yeah.
Your kids are only going to be in your home for 18 summers, more or less. And you're young. Once your kids are out of your home, you're going to be in your early 50s. You're still going to have 20 more years of high-level production ahead of you. Do what you need to do right now to try to be there an hour earlier each day, because that will stack up to 5 hours a week, 5 hours a week, 20 hours a month, 240 hours a year extra that their children get their daddy. And then when they live in their own houses, work till 1 a.m. every day. Wake up at 3 and work till 1. They're gone, right?
Yeah.
But like this season matters, bro.
Yeah.
And they want to see, like, you need to set the example of hard work. You need to set the example of being a provider, of being a safety net that they can trust on. But dude, I believe, no disrespect to moms or women out there, that fathers have a profound impact on our children in their developmental years of their own self-image, especially daughters, their own self-image and identity of a man who cherishes them and consistently puts them above everything else. That my daughters believe that they're more important to my business will create such strong self-confidence and identity in themselves that will impact them for the rest of their lives. And then when they're gone and I'm 52, I could go make billions then and work 160 hours at a 168-hour work week.
We'll
right?
go party.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But do what you got to do right now, bro, to be there as much as you can, because this in the scope of life, that's how much we get with our kids being under our roofs.
100%. So, Cole, I'm very excited to have you at Driven.
Yeah,
and any message for people that are going to come to Driven 9? You're going to be part of it. What are you looking most forward to the Driven 9 event?
Well, we've talked a lot about the value of relationships at events. You can watch YouTube videos, you can live stream events, but to come and be there in person, the number one value add, in my opinion, of coming to live events is shaking hands, meeting people, exchanging contact info, and building relationships. We talked a lot about that earlier in this podcast. So for those of you coming out to Driven 9, don't be shy. Closed mouths never get fed. Shake hands. If you're busy and you're like, oh, I'm going to go up to my hotel room and bang out some emails, you won't die. Leave the emails till Monday. Be fully focused on the event. Take notes. Learn things from the speakers. I'm going to try to create value for you. But at the same time, shake as many hands as you can. Make everybody there know what value you can create in their lives. Don't go pitching your nonsense, but let them know how you can be valuable to them. Get as much contact info as you can. Build your network as best as you can. There's 1,000 quotes out there about your net worth is determined by your network and all that stuff. It's true. Go meet people. Albert attracts an amazing audience because he's been doing this for 9 years. The brand is proven, and the speakers he gets up there are legendary. So a lot of badasses come to that event. Make sure you shake as many hands with as many badasses as you can.
Brother, if people want to follow you, what's the best place to find you?
Right there, at Cole Hatter. On Instagram is really the only place I'm active. I've taken a huge step back on social media as I've been focused on my kids, but we might ramp that back up this year. But Cole Hatter, I manage that one alone on Instagram. I don't touch the other ones really. So shoot me a DM. Let me know what you thought about this podcast, and happy to help you however I can.
Thank you. It's a wrap. That was good, man. 90 minutes.
Did we go 90 minutes? Holy crap.
Yeah, bro.